Wish it could have been a Jet, Fernando.
We'll see what happens.
Live from Radio Row in Indianapolis, it's Combine time as teams look for their next superstar. Some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment will be right here. Get ready for the 2026 draft, baby. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Joining us right now is a friend of mine in the business. He's a national host on Mad Dog Sports Radio, and locally in Tennessee, he's one of the biggest names in the radio and digital space. It's our guy, Jared Stillman, who joins us now for a breakdown on today's trade from a Titans angle. Plus, Jared, we got to learn all about T'Vondre Sweat, so appreciate you hopping on.
I'd love to be here, and I will say this. The trade of T'Vondre Sweat, not a shock. The trade for Germaine Johnson, not totally a shock either. I guess they were in the need of an edge rusher, so they pick up an edge rusher, and they give away someone that they really did not want.
So from a Jet standpoint with this deal, with Sweat, what type of player are the Jets getting? We just look at the raw stats, but it's always tough with that type of position to evaluate stats and value. You're watching him every game. What type of player is T'Vondre Sweat?
T'Vondre Sweat is a big, fat, lazy, run-stuffing defensive tackle. So if Aaron Glenn brings him in and says, hey, I want you to develop as a player. I want to play you on third down. I want to play you in the 2-minute drill. I want to play you in passing situations. He's going to be disappointed. If he says, hey, I want you to go be what DJ Reader was for us with Detroit, then I think you've got something there. The problem is the Titans completely overdrafted T'Vondre Sweat in 2024. They used the 38th pick on him. The Rams made a crazy deal to move up to 39 with Carolina for Braden Fisk. And so the Titans took a run-stuffing DT who had just gotten a DUI with the 38th pick, and they were having to justify this pick as, no, we think he can develop into a third down type player. We think he can develop into a pass rusher. We think he can basically be Jeffrey Simmons 2.0, which was crazy. And the problem with him being Jeffrey Simmons 2.0 is that he doesn't play like Jeffrey Simmons. That's not really his position. But also the biggest problem with T'Vondre Sweat is that he's lazy. And so over the 2 years, I think the Titans had seen enough to know that he was really fat, really lazy, wasn't going to fit into what Robert Saleh's scheme, that 4-3 style, would really want. And so if you're looking for a big, fat, run-stuffing DT, T'Vondre Sweat is your guy. If you want somebody who's going to go over and beyond, if you want to get him to make changes to himself, that's not going to happen. But if you just want somebody to clog up the run, he's your guy.
When you say he's fat, he's lazy, I'm already seeing the comments here from Jet fans who hear that, and they are shocked that is the breakdown here. Is this something like it was just such a messy situation at Tennessee? There weren't great leaders in the locker room to hold him accountable. Like, what is the cause of that? How much is that on the player? How much is that on the environment? And is he able to maybe mature now that he's been traded to go to a new team and potentially take advantage of this new opportunity?
So I want to make something that I know that you know incredibly clear. I am not like a local homer. Yeah, I grew up a huge Titan fan, and I root for the Titans, but like I call it like I see it. And so with T'Vondre Sweat, when they drafted him at 38, I thought to myself, wait a minute. They drafted a guy that a lot of people had on boards at like 63 with the 38th pick. Now, the general manager at the time, Rand Carthon, was incompetent. And so that didn't necessarily.
He's actually sitting right over there if you want me to go say hello.
I mean, he's already doing podcast interviews talking about me, so I don't think it would change anything. But he overdrafts T'Vondre Sweat. And then all the stuff started to come out about teams saying, oh, we took him off our board. Like we weren't going to draft him. Then the lazy stuff came out. Then the fat stuff came out. And basically what happened was T'Vondre Sweat showed up at Texas at like 250 pounds as an edge rusher. And then he just couldn't stop eating. And so he was about 380 his last year at Texas. He comes into the combine at 364. Now, his weight was a big topic of discussion for that first rookie year because the Titans overdrafted him and then felt the need to oversell him as, no, we've already told him we want him to lose weight. We already think he can get down to 340. We think he can get down to 330. He said the night he was drafted that if I get down to 340, I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame. And the Titans, because of where they drafted him, had to justify using that pick. So they needed him to become something that he wasn't. And over the 2 years, there's not a single person inside of that building that has knocked the idea that T'Vondre Sweat was as lazy as advertised when he was drafted out of Texas. If they had drafted T'Vondre Sweat in the 5th round or the 4th round, it would have been good value for a run-stuffing DD. But because they used the 38th pick in the draft, where you're supposed to get guys like A.J. Brown, I mean, that's where I think it kind of got out of hand. Robert Saleh doesn't play the style of defense that needs a big run-stuffing DT. So I think that the scheme fit was a question, but it had become pretty apparent, as with Jarvis Brownlee, that Mike Borgonzi, the new general manager last year, did not think much of T'Vondre Sweat. And the Titans were really looking to get rid of him around the trade deadline. They ended up holding on to him. But I think the attitude, I think the laziness, I think this is just who he is. And so, again, if you're saying, hey, he's going to be fat, he's going to be lazy, he's under contract for 2 more years, go on 1st down and 10 when they run the ball, go stop him for a gain of 1. That's your guy. Hey, goal line situation, maybe he can get a little push in there. Great. But if you think that it's going to be anything more than that, he's just never going to be that.
Well, it's interesting because you say all that, and then I'm just looking at like some stats on him, seeing the PFF grade where he was apparently the 5th best interior defensive lineman out of 134 qualified players because of how good he is against the run. That was a huge problem for the Jets. So at the bare minimum, would you say the PFF grade matches up with what you've seen, that if they just say, hey, man, go be big in the middle, stop the run, we're switching to a 3-4, which is why they needed him in the first place? That makes some sense?
No, I think this is a good trade for both sides, right? So Germaine Johnson, to me, the Titans need 2 edge rushers in free agency, and I think they need another one in the draft. Now, they're going to end up using a draft pick on one, and they're probably not going to go sign another one. I think they need to sign 2, but they needed a 1st-tier edge rusher. So think of Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, that kind of guy, maybe Odafe Owe as a 1st-tier pass rusher. And then I thought they needed a 2nd-tier pass rusher, which would have been a 1-year prove-it type deal for a Kwity Paye who played under Gus Bradley in Indianapolis, or a Kayvon Chason who had a good season last year with the Patriots. To me, that's what Jermaine Johnson is. It's a 1-year, $13 million contract. It really nets out to about 11.8 when you factor in Sweat's money. So that's fine. And from what I've heard, you would know better than I would, Jake, but from what I've heard, that Jermaine Johnson was a big part of that 2023 defense, and that Jermaine Johnson's a very hard worker, and that Saleh loves him. And so that's great. T'Vondre Sweat, if you're just saying, I need a run-stuffing DT and I don't want to pay DJ Reader $11 million to do it, T'Vondre Sweat's your guy. If you're thinking he's going to become Vince Wilfork, that's never going to happen. And he's got the talent to be a Vince Wilfork. He's got the talent to be a great player. It's just not going to happen. And that's okay. So to your point, if the Jets are like, hey, we're going to draft Arvell Reese at number 2 overall, yep, and we think we'll be able to get after the passer, but we have got to stop the run, and we need somebody to eat up those interior guys so that our linebackers can make plays, then this is your guy. If you're looking for that true nose tackle, again, DJ Reader, if you're looking for that, this is your guy.
I think that was part of it. He's got 2 more years of control. I think with Germaine coming off the Achilles and just how bad the Jets' defensive coaching was a year ago, it was tough. It's a little bittersweet because he was an ascending player after 23, but you guys are now getting him 2nd year removed from the Achilles, and I don't think the Jets were going to pay him. Obviously, they're sitting there at number 2 where they're going to likely take an edge. I think it is going to be Arvell Reese, Jared. So I see the trade from both sides. I think the big thing that the Jets are counting on, though, they definitely need him to be elite against the run. But I think it's also being sold as, hey, the Jets hired Carl Dunbar, who is an elite defensive line coach. He used to be with the Jets years ago. He was with the Steelers the last 8 years. They're switching to a 3-4. He's the guy that can unlock more of what we haven't seen yet from Sweat. I think that's the Jet standpoint and viewpoint on this. I'm curious, just your thoughts on the Titans' defensive coaching the last 2 years for Sweat. Has that played a part in his development or lack thereof in certain areas?
I'll give you an example of why I think that Vince Lombardi could be the coach, and I don't think he would get the best out of T'Vondre Sweat. Last year, Jeffrey Simmons said at the end of the year he had talked to T'Vondre Sweat about coming to Dallas with him in training. And Sweat was on board. Sweat was going to go out to Dallas, and he was going to train hard with Simmons. And Simmons last year really recommitted himself and lost something around 20 pounds or so and really took his game to the next level, where Jeffrey Simmons was one of the best players in the league. And I see people in the chat saying, this guy's salty and this guy's – Jeffrey Simmons absolutely hates me. So I want everybody to know that I will call it how it is. And Simmons recommitted himself, and Simmons played great last season. And it came out that T'Vondre Sweat never actually went to Dallas to go work out with Jeffrey Simmons. And everybody said when they drafted T'Vondre Sweat, oh no, Simmons will take him under his wing. And Simmons tried, but ultimately T'Vondre Sweat wants to go out and party. T'Vondre Sweat wants to hit the hamburger shop. T'Vondre Sweat wants to be T'Vondre Sweat. And so they could have anybody be their defensive line coach. I don't think it matters. And I think that with Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan as the general manager and coach, those were guys that really gave everybody the benefit of the doubt all the time. So with L'Jarius Sneed's knees, for instance, which the entire league said we're not touching, they were like, no, it will be fine. It will be fine. And they did that with everybody. Do you remember the week 2 game in 2024 when the Jets played the Titans and the right tackle for the Titans gave up like an NFL career high pressures? And it was something like 30 pressures in one game from the right tackle. And I want to say like Will McDonald had like 2 sacks and, just, I don't want to say average players, but average players were just going off against the Titans right tackle. That was the mentality of the team, which was, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And that's why everybody who had that mentality has since been fired. Now, I don't know if Robert Saleh is a good coach or not. I lean towards he's probably not, but we'll see. But again, on the T'Vondre Sweat front, he is what he is. He's going to play about 20 snaps a game. He's not going to play on third down. He's not going to play in the 2-minute drill. He's not going to sack the quarterback. And if you're okay with that, then I think it's great.
Interesting breakdown. Hey, you're watching him every game, so it's a unique perspective because the feedback we have gotten is, oh, he's exactly what they need for the scheme. He's really good against the run, all that. So, Jared, I appreciate you joining, man. Great perspective on everything.
Absolutely, Jake. Thank you so much. And as I said, I'm not a homer, so if you want if you guys want to see if you guys want to just live through the daily experience of Robert Saleh, go hit like and subscribe on my page, Stillman and Company. Thanks, Jake.
We'll be watching, man. Jared Stillman. Check him out on Bad Dog Radio. Also does local radio and, of course, local digital content in Nashville. Check out his YouTube channel